Got my popcorn, can't wait for it yet. Oversimplified drops, it's going live. VTH, we need that React vibe. Hey VTH, won't you take a seat? Show us your thoughts in a clapping beat. We all tune in, you're the reaction king. Watching history like it's a new fling. The timeline twists, you break it down. We're cheering loud like a circus clown. Oversimplified brings humor and facts. VTH, we need your take on that. Hey VTH, won't you take a seat? Show us your thoughts in a clapping beat. We all tune in, you're the reaction king. Watching history like it's a new thing. Your voice we wanna hear, dissecting moments with your laughs and sneers. Oversimplified with your witty twist. VTH, without you something's amiss. Hey VTH, won't you take a seat? Show us your thoughts in a clapping beat. We all tune in, you're the reaction king. Watching history like it's a new thing.
Yay, okay, what's going on, everybody? Sorry we started the stream a couple minutes late because I was trying to get that song downloaded so that I could start the stream with it, and it took a little bit of time. Yes, I know. Oversimplified. I'm aware. I actually knew before anybody commented about it because like everybody else, I saw their social media post. And then I actually got an email from Ian, who's the guy who does Oversimplified, to follow up about my reaction. So my reaction is already recorded. It's already uploaded. And you can actually check and see it's already scheduled to premiere on Monday afternoon around 2:30. So that shouldn't miss the major events of the inauguration. It'll be right in there in between the inauguration and Ohio State winning the national championship that night. So, hey, Vince Smoke, I'm so glad that you're making a live stream for the first time. I wasn't planning to live stream tonight. Actually, my plan was to make the Oversimplified reaction live. So that was going to be my video for today, but then I got an email from Oversimplified. He reached out to me and Mr. Terry and said, hey, do you mind? We love your reaction. We're glad you do those, and we're glad people watch them. But could you wait 48 hours after the release before you release your reaction? And I'm more than happy to do that for them at their request. So the video's up. It's been recorded. It's an hour and 15 minutes long, my reaction, because the original video was almost 50 minutes long. So you'll see it Monday afternoon. So you don't have to keep asking me. You don't have to keep telling me. I know this is my Ohio State jersey in honor of the pending national championship that we're going to win on Monday. So first time live streaming in my new house. We actually moved in. Last night was my first night that I spent here. I got the keys on Monday for the house. I actually got home from Italy late on Sunday night. My sister and I got back from Italy. And then Monday afternoon, I got the keys, brought my first carload of stuff over. And then yesterday, 7 hours moving all of the furniture, the 25 minutes from my old house to my new house. So here I am. So what I want to do with tonight's live stream is just kind of catch up, because it's actually been about 2.5 weeks since I last recorded any content for the channel, because everything that went live while I was in Italy was stuff I pre-recorded before I left for Italy, and so today recording the the Oversimplified reaction was my first time recording in about 2.5 weeks, and my first time recording here. So I'll catch up with your questions in just a minute. But I do want to kind of do a little bit of a recap of my trip to Italy with my sister, as well as kind of catch you guys up to speed on some stuff that is going to be happening in the weeks and months ahead, not only with VTH, but with some of my friends as well. So let me catch up on a couple questions here, and then we'll start kind of diving into all this. Yes, Oversimplified did, in fact, upload, as I'm aware. Thoughts on Steven Crowder? Honestly, I don't really know anything about Steven Crowder. Is he like a political commentary guy or something? I'm not sure. I don't watch that stuff. Honestly, it exhausts me, no matter which side of the aisle it comes from. So, Adam, thank you for that. Late night in Sheffield. Okay, very cool. Big steel town, or at least it was, Sheffield. Hope the move has gone well. You're starting to settle. I am. Winner for Leeds, Sheffield. I feel like Leeds is going to probably win that game. Hopefully West Brom's on the way up now that we've got Tony Mowbray. So we'll see what happens with that. DJ Renaissance, thank you. Watching the British monarchs tier list, in my opinion, do you think Elizabeth II will be remembered fondly? I think she'll be remembered very fondly. As will, I think, Charles III. I think he's actually doing a very good job under the circumstances. You are not allowed to do anything but review Oversimplified video. Yes. Do we think we can buy Greenland? No. I don't think Denmark has any interest in that, and I think it's a whole lot of talk that's going to amount to a whole lot of nothing. I think people just need something to talk about. Most overrated college football team this year, in your opinion? I think Georgia. I did, Robert, see the 101st Airborne Division inspired uniforms. That was those are really cool. I liked them a lot. I'm going backwards looking at some of the chat here. Thoughts on Vivek allegedly running for governor? It sounds like that may very well be the case. Would I vote for him? I have no idea. Way too early to tell. Let's wait and see what happens. That campaign's 2 years away. So ask me again then. Estella, how you doing? I'm doing well. I hope you are too. Am I going to stream for the inauguration? Yeah, I think I probably will. I can't say 100% for sure, but I think I will. Let's see how life goes. I'm leaving for, and this is one of the things I was going to tell you guys about. I'm actually heading to Washington, D.C., not for the inauguration, though. Had I been able to, and had I wanted to, I had a ticket available for the inauguration that potentially, had it been outside, could have gotten me up on the platform. But as it stands, I think I probably still would have gotten inside for it. But I turned that down, that opportunity. But I am going on the 21st to DC to meet up with some friends who are there for the inauguration. And I'm going to catch up with them and hang out with them for a couple of days. We're going to go to Arlington, probably go to the American History Museum. We're going to go to Mount Vernon. I've never been to Mount Vernon, so I'm going to go to Mount Vernon with them as well. So, but yeah, I'm going to be in DC this coming week. So, in the meantime, though, I'm trying to get my house ready. Got a long way to go to get it ready. My kids and I all spent the night here last night. So, yes, I do want to do some more Kahoot and GeoGuessr live soon. Now that I'm settling into the new house and I don't have a big Italy trip and a big move ahead of me, the plan is to start streaming more often for sure. And I think that the internet should be more stable here at this new house than it was at my old house. It's certainly faster because I've got a fiber optic connection now. So I'm hoping that will be the case. Do I have any favorite English queen consorts? That's actually a fantastic question. I'm a big fan of Catherine of Aragon. I think under very trying circumstances, she held up pretty well and kept her dignity. Eleanor of Aquitaine's a really fascinating one to me as well. Those are the two that come to mind right off the top of my head. What is my favorite reaction I've done? That's a fantastic question. Let me think about that a second. I've had a few. I still think it's probably Lamino and his Jack the Ripper videos. That, because number one, it's a topic that I know a lot about, having done a ton of research and written a paper on Jack the Ripper. Something I'm very interested in. And honestly, having seen dozens of documentaries and read something like a dozen books on Jack the Ripper myself, it was the best presentation of the Jack the Ripper case that I've ever seen. So I absolutely loved Lamino's documentary on that. I think he does a top-notch job on that stuff. Yes, I do have Armstrong. I've always had Armstrong. I had Armstrong at my last house, but I was out in the middle of nowhere, and so it was a place where they hadn't installed fiber optic yet. Any plans to do 250th Concord and Lexington? Yeah, I wanted to be up in Concord and Lexington for the 350th, but that's a week before my group trip to Germany, Slovakia, Czechia, and Austria, and I just couldn't do both. Unfortunately, just too close together. Otherwise, I would have. I am planning on being in Appomattox for the 160th anniversary of Lee's surrender, though. I've already got my hotel booked for that. All right, let me catch up on the super chats here. First time catching a live stream page. Very cool. I saw the musical Six on tour in Cleveland a year and a half ago. I thought it was good. I thought it was cool. I like that they portrayed the six wives of Henry VIII without him ever appearing. So it was cool to kind of let them tell their stories, and it was a unique kind of a Spice Girls inspired thing. So it was cool. And actually that reminds me, speaking of Jack the Ripper, my plan, I have a couple more trips to London coming up. I'm going back in February. It probably won't be then because I'm not staying in London. But maybe in March when I'm in London before I go to Egypt, I want to do some original content on the Jack the Ripper case from London, but focused on the stories of the 5 canonical victims rather than on the murderer and on the murder. So I want to tell their stories in a little more detail. So that's the plan. I just don't know when I'm going to do it. Do I think if FDR had lived to the end of the war that he would have resigned afterwards? I think he would have finished the term. I don't see any reason why he would have resigned. Bengals or Browns? I'm a Browns fan. Always have been. Mitzi Studio Civil War. I'll do it at some point. I'm conscious of the fact that I do a ton of Civil War content already because it's kind of something that is in my wheelhouse. So I try not to oversaturate the channel with Civil War content unless it's a unique perspective on it. William Marshall, held as a hostage during the King Stephen siege at Newbury Castle. His father said, "I still have the hammer and the anvil with which to forge still more and better sons." Ouch. New house is great so far. I slept here for the first time last night, slept really well. My master bedroom is in a part of the house. The house is 100 years old, and it was added on to at one time. And my bedroom is in the addition, which doesn't get heat and air as well as the rest of the house, which actually in the winter is a good thing because it means that my kids can still get warmth in their bedrooms, but it's a little cooler in my room, which is exactly how I like it. I like to sleep. Honestly, if it were up to me, I would sleep in a house that was about 62, 63 degrees, and I would sleep beautifully. But I slept great last night. New bed because I gave my old bed to my son. He needed something a little bigger. So do I think Charles Curtis would have been a great POTUS? Well, he's one of those what ifs. I think he certainly could have been. There's no way to know, honestly. Yes, I will do some more History Buffs reactions. Thoughts on the inauguration being inside? I'm not surprised because they were saying how it's going to be the coldest inauguration in 40 years. And that last one 40 years ago was inside, though that one's going to be colder. But that one was colder than this one. It's going to be way colder here in Ohio. Thankfully, I'm going to be in Virginia, DC, Maryland, because Tuesday it's supposed to get down to -10. And that's not the wind chill. That's just the temperature. The wind chill is supposed to be -20 Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday here in Ohio. Brutally cold weather coming. Saw no reaction to Oversimplified World War I on your channel. No, it's definitely there. In fact, if you look at, I just posted the premiere for my Oversimplified reaction to the video that went live today. And if you go to the playlist, which is in the comment section of that premiere, you'll see the playlist for all of the videos. Let me just double check, make sure the World War I is in the playlist. It should be. I'm scrolling down now. Okay, so there's the problem. It's not in the playlist. That's weird. All right, I'll rectify that. I'll pull it up now so that I can remember to do that. In the meantime, there is a compilation video that has World War I, Hitler, and World War II all in one video that I posted. Yeah, here it is. All right, I just need to add it to the playlist. I'll do that right now while we're talking here, so I don't forget. That's what happened. Okay. I might have to go in and reorder the playlist to make sure it's in the right place. But I'll do that. Okay. Anyway, there you go. Now it should be there. Let's see where we're at on comments. Previous internet speed. I mean, it wasn't bad. The problem was it would come and go. So I would get, and honestly, for my purposes, download speed's not the issue. It's upload speed. And that's what fiber optic gets a lot better than traditional like cable internet is. The upload speeds are greatly improved. So I would get 300 or 400 megabytes a second most of the time at my old house. Here it's more like 700 megabytes a second download speed. The problem was it would drop at times, and so sometimes when I was live streaming it would drop suddenly. Plus where I was recording in the house was pretty far away from where the router was. I corrected that here. I'm actually, my office in this house is literally right above where the router is, which is in the living room. And there's no ceiling in the living room. There's just the floor of the second floor. It's kind of an open ceiling. So there's not a lot of stuff in the way. So it's a much faster Wi-Fi connection. Otherwise I could have wired it, but so it's pretty good here so far. House tour. Yes, I will do a house tour. Give me time to make the house look like a house first. Right now there's boxes everywhere and there's like tools everywhere because I'm hanging pictures and I'm unloading boxes, and I've still got probably 30 boxes out in a storage crate out in the driveway that I haven't even brought into the house yet. I just set up my charging station in the garage, so my car's plugged in at the moment, charging for the first time. So I had to kind of deal with all of that. So give me a couple of weeks. Let me get especially this room set up because in addition to, so like I can show you right here, I'll drop the green screen. Yeah, and the camera just shook because right now I'm on a 8-foot table because I don't have a desk set up in here yet. But I'll show you what's behind me right now because it's just some empty bookshelves, black bookshelves. So I've got to get those in order and get the books on them, as well as some memorabilia and some of my Kobe planes and stuff that I'm going to do. But then I'm also over in another section of this room going to set up my live recording area where I'll have my camera so I can do like when I do original content, because I'm going to be starting to do a lot more original content, especially for Stories of the Great War and Stories of the Civil War, those two channels, which I haven't done much with lately because I've been so focused on the move and on all the travel I'm doing. Because the first half of this year, I'm doing a ton of travel, because the second half of the year, I'm doing no travel. So I have to try and get all of my content recorded for like those original content channels in the first 4 or 5 months of the year. My son will be a senior in high school this coming fall. And so for the last 18, 19 years of our lives, soccer has been a part of our lives, starting with my daughter when she was 5, and then with my son since he's been 5. So this is our last year being soccer parents. So kind of a big deal. And I don't want to miss a single second of it. So I'm not going to be doing any traveling from July through November, until I get his schedule. If there's any breaks in the schedule, which sometimes there are, that might allow me a little bit of time, then I might get away for a few days. But until then, nothing happening. How many bedrooms does the new house have? It has 5, but one of them is the room I'm in right now, which is my office for my recording space. So office and then 4 other bedrooms, which is one of the things I needed, because the house that I was renting that I just moved out of was only 4 bedrooms. And so my one son was sleeping in the basement and another son was sleeping in the family room. So now they all have their own bedrooms. They all have their own beds. So it's a little more like a home. Josh, thank you. I love your Starks icon there for your profile. He says, "Go Chiefs." It's going to be interesting to see what happens with those Chiefs when they have to take on the winner of the Bills and the Ravens. That's going to be a tough one, I think, for the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs' dominant record this year is deceptively weak. If you look at their plus minus as far as points scored versus points allowed, it's one of the worst of all the playoff teams. They've had a lot of narrow victories that they got a lot of luck on their side. So we'll see what happens. If you had to be stranded on a deserted island with one of my YouTube friends, who would it be? Oh, man. You're going to put me on the spot because I have a lot of YouTube friends and I like them all. But I think if you're going to be stranded on a deserted island with someone, then you want 2 things. You want somebody who's going to help with the fact you're stranded on a deserted island. And it also needs to be somebody with whom you have a lot in common, because you're going to be spending a lot of time together. So it would have to be my friend JD from the History Underground. First of all, he's a hunter, so he could get us food, whereas I've never hunted a day in my life. So I need somebody who knows their way around hunting, and I know he absolutely does. So that alone would save me, having JD as a survival partner. But also we're close to the same age. I'm a little bit older than him, but we have a lot in common. We have very similar values and beliefs, and I think that we would get along well. So I would have to say JD. Not that I wouldn't mind being stranded on a deserted island with a lot of my other YouTube friends, because they're all great. Leviticus Prime, what are some little-known historical facts or figures you would like to see movies or TV shows about? That's my standard answer to this all the time. I wouldn't say he's little known, but I think we need a really good, like John Adams type of TV series on Ulysses S. Grant, because his story is perfect for it. It's an incredible story. What else would be a great story? I'd love to see. I wish HBO's Rome had been done like the full 5 seasons, like they wanted to do it. I think the Punic Wars, having just watched, Oversimplified's new one today, would make for a good one. Oh gosh, I'd have to think about this. I'm looking at some of other people's answers. Can't really call it a bachelor pad, Grant, because I have 3 kids and they spend a lot of time here. So, let me think. What else would make a good story? Let me look at some other people's answers. JD would be like, I'm stuck with this stiff. Yeah, fair enough. Dingus McBingus, I agree. I want to do that too. I want to go back and do a better job. And part of what I'm going to be doing in this space that's over here to my right is that's going to be where I record that kind of stuff once I can work up scripts and things like that. So for sure. So I'm going to start sharing some of the pictures from Italy and tell you a little bit about what I learned this time around and what I experienced here pretty soon. Good batches, Roman history summarized by overly sarcastic productions. I'm really into Roman history again right now because I just got back from Rome. So yeah, like I said, I just read Pax by Tom Holland. I'm probably going to do some of his other stuff. Have I read Antonia Fraser, her books on Eleanor of Aquitaine and Henry VIII's wives? I have not, but I'll have to keep that in mind. Zion of Western, thank you. How much do you want? Do you right now? How much you want right now to do the oversimplified reaction right now? Money not an issue. Name your price, good sir. I already did the reaction. It's been uploaded already. It's there. It's ready for you guys. The reason I'm streaming right now is because I was planning on making that video live today, but Oversimplified asked me and Mr. Terry if we would wait 48 hours to release our reactions. And I 100% want to stay on good terms with them. And so 100%, I got no issue with that at all. They've been very gracious and kind to me and supportive of me doing reactions to their videos. And again, when they reached out today, we're very supportive and we're excited about the fact that Mr. Terry and I were doing those reactions. They just said, hey, could you wait 48 hours? So that's what I'm doing. If you look on the channel, there's a premiere set for 2:30 on Monday. That's when it will go live, but it's already been recorded. It's an hour and 15 minutes long. It's just sitting there waiting for you. More Historia Civilis reactions. Absolutely. He does a great job with his stuff. Old Britannia. I did one recently, but I haven't done much yet. In my opinion, was Hitler left or right wing? Yes, he was both. Nazism was its own animal, and you can't pigeonhole it into one or the other. It had aspects, had elements of both. Thoughts on Michelle Obama not attending the inauguration? First of all, I wouldn't read anything into her not being there as an indictment of their marriage. Second of all, it's none of my business whether they get a divorce or not. I hope that's not the case. They've always seemed like a good couple. I'm not going to think anything of it because the obvious response would be, well, Trump didn't go to Biden's inauguration. So that's her choice. As a self-proclaimed conservative, what are your thoughts on Pam Bondi being tapped as AG and her history of Second Amendment rights? I don't know a ton of her story on that specifically. I haven't looked too much into it. She's obviously qualified for the job, and to me, that's the main issue. If the president nominates the person, wants that person to do the job, and the person is qualified for the job, then I think they should be confirmed. Unfortunately, that's not the world we live in anymore. It's all a political game. You're going to have some like Marco Rubio who's going to be overwhelmingly approved. Others like Pam Bondi, she'll get approved, but there are going to be some no votes from the Democrats. Then you have like Robert Kennedy. That one's going to be really interesting. I think Hezekiah's going to be another interesting one. Those are going to be super close votes that are probably going to be, well, in Kennedy's case, I don't know what's going to happen, but like with Hezekiah, I think it's going to be pretty much on party lines. And that happens. It happens both ways with administrations. But I think the main thing is, are they qualified for the job and do they have the trust of the president? Barcelona or Real Madrid, I don't have a preference. I haven't really eventually I need to pick a Spanish team to support because I try to pick one in each league. But I haven't yet. Thoughts on the TikTok CEO versus senators if I've seen it? The only thing I've seen from that is it Tom Cotton who kept asking him if he had Chinese citizenship? And it was just like I was just rolling my eyes because he just would not let it go at all. I didn't know, I didn't see the whole thing in context. So I don't know if he was asking him in order to get him to clarify that he didn't, or if he legit thought that he did have some ties to the government of China. I know for myself personally, my doctor, I'm all over the place today. My daughter, her TikTok channel just got monetized like a couple of weeks ago. So she just started making money on TikTok. So she is like horrified at the thought that they're going to shut it down. So we'll see what happens. Dan, I just explained this. You can't watch for 2 days because it's a premiere. It's set to go live in 2 days. So you won't be able to watch it till it goes live. Hello from Poland, Ohio. Well, hello from Poland, Ohio. Chris and JD being Tom Hanks in Castaway. Yeah, exactly. Might get to meet Tom Hanks later this year. Not 100% sure. Could happen. Wumpy, have I seen Trump's official presidential portrait and compared it to the last one? A picture says 1,000 words. I did see it, but I didn't compare it to the last one. I'll have to do that. Favorite Byzantine emperor? I don't know many of the Byzantine emperors. Haven't dived into that part of history yet. So I'm just going to default and say Justinian. I don't know. Thoughts on Shogun? I haven't watched it yet. I need to. I actually, I just started watching tonight. I watched the first episode of, oh gosh, what's the new show? I watched it and I can't remember what it's called. The one about the Utah War that's on Netflix. I just watched the first episode. Somebody will type it as soon as I said it in the comment section. It's American something or other, isn't it? Darn it. There's a delay, so I'm waiting for you guys to answer it for me. American something. Darn it. Why can't I think of what it's called? American Primeval. That's it. Yeah, I watched the first episode. That was really good. Didn't exactly get the massacre quite historically accurate, but I get that they were condensing things. So favorite warrior king in history, Henry V. Oh, Henry V. Definitely gotta be Henry V. Would me and JD ever do a podcast together? I know he's talked about doing one, and he's kind of started doing some podcasty type things. I did a podcast for a little while. I think it would be fun. I just don't know if either one of us have the time for it, unfortunately. He's still working as a teacher, plus all his traveling. Mr. Terry and I have kind of flirted with the idea of doing something like that. So I don't know. I'd never say never. I think it'd be fun. And I do think we would get along well and be able to do a good job with that. I talk to JD pretty much almost every day. It's cool because when JD and I met, it was like the week that both of our channels went over 100,000 subscribers. We went over 100,000 within a couple of days of each other. And until about a year and a half ago, our two channels grew at basically the exact same rate. We were both at about 400,000 at the same time. And then he had this series from Munich that just went nuts, and he blew me out of the water. And now he's like pushing 700,000, and I couldn't be happier that it's happening for him like that. Were you surprised by Moreno losing by quite a bit? Moreno won that election. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Bernie Moreno is now a U.S. Senator from the state of Ohio. He definitely won. How does Donald Trump compare to Ronald Reagan? They're both like two of the oldest presidents in American history, both Republicans. Beyond that, I'm not sure. I don't know if I could see a lot of parallels between the two. For the love of all that is holy, could people please stop asking me if I'm going to react to the new Oversimplified? The reaction, I already recorded it, and it's already on the channel, set to premiere on Monday. So it's there. It's there. It's there. It's there. No, they're not talking about JD Vance. They're talking about JD from the History Underground. Where I surprised by Brown losing by quite a bit. Yes, I was surprised by that a little bit. But then again, every time that Sherrod Brown won in his past 3 elections, those were years in which the Democrats as a whole did really well nationwide. This year was never going to be that. So I guess maybe in hindsight, I shouldn't have been surprised. I could spend the day with any English or British monarch. Who would I pick and why? George VI, because I've got a lot of admiration for him, just in terms of his perseverance, his character, and I think he'd be very interesting to talk to. Yeah, I guess I can pin a comment about that. At some point here, I'll pin a comment. We're just so eager, Catherine says. Yes, I know. I get it. I understand. Alfred the Great would be interesting, but I wouldn't be able to talk to him because we wouldn't be able to understand each other. But I guess it's a theoretical thing anyway, so I guess we could get over that. Edward III is another solid choice, and he'd be right near the top of my list. He's my favorite English monarch. So, okay. As a football soccer fan, do you prefer MLS or USL? MLS, because honestly, I don't know anything about USL. I think Pittsburgh has a team, but beyond that, I don't really know much about USL. I haven't followed it much at all yet. So, for lower tiers, I mostly follow teams in the UK. Speaking of, if you guys haven't heard me talk about this already, my 17-year-old son and I in February are going on a UK football tour, so to speak. We're going to see 3 games in 5 days. We're going out to see West Brom at home against Blackburn. And then we're going to take a train to Glasgow, and we're going to get to see the team that I am one of the owners of, which is the Caledonian Braves. They're a 5th-tier team in the Scottish football pyramid, and doing really, really well so far. Got a chance at promotion. They're right at the top of the table right now, so we'll see what happens with that. But I've been talking to their media person. We're going to be able to get to do some behind-the-scenes stuff, hopefully there. I am documenting all of this for VTH Extra, the whole football trip. And then we're going to zip on a train all the way down to London. Or no, I'm sorry, we're not taking a train because the Caledonian Sleeper doesn't run on Saturday nights, which is the night we'll be traveling. So we're actually going to go right from the Caledonian Braves game right to the airport and take a $30 EasyJet flight down to London, where we're going to go to see Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester United. So those will be back-to-back days, those 2 games. So excited about that. 3 games in 5 days. So I'll be documenting all of that for VTH Extra. That should be a lot of fun. My son Caleb, the 17-year-old, is the only one of my 3 kids who hasn't gone on any solo trips with dad, just the 2 of us. My daughter went to France with me last year. My son Eli has gone to a bunch of Civil War battlefields with me. He goes to the Gettysburg Film Festival with me every year. Sorry, I'm checking. I just got a text from Mr. Terry. Okay. Anyway, so we're excited about that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Favorite Division I fight song? Ohio State's fight song, of course. There's a lot of really good ones, though. Did Henry VIII's wives meet each other? Oh, yeah, absolutely, because several of them were ladies in waiting to the ones that they followed. Anne Boleyn was in the court at the same time that Henry was married to Catherine of Aragon. Jane Seymour was one of Anne Boleyn's ladies in waiting. I don't think Catherine Howard. I mean, here you got to understand, these were all really high status women. So in many cases, they did know each other. Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard were first cousins. Their parents were siblings to each other. So they knew each other. They were family. Catherine Parr, I guarantee, knew several of them as well. So yeah, many of them interacted with each other. Since you've stated issues with unions, what is your thoughts on Trump's pick for Labor Secretary Laura Chavez DeRemer, a pro-union Republican? I got no problem with that. I mean, it's if you're going to have a pro-union Republican, Labor's the place to have them. So it's not that I have an issue with the existence of unions or that I don't recognize the important role that unions have played in our nation's history and the benefit that they've provided to a lot of people. I just have a lot of issues with the results of some of their actions in recent decades. In particular, growing up in a very strongly pro-union community, I've seen the damage that the politics of those unions have caused in this area. And I think that's one of the reasons why this area, which is a deeply heavily blue pro-union area of Ohio, has dramatically swung to the Republicans in the last 10 years, specifically to Donald Trump. I think it has a lot to do with that stuff. So I don't want people to misunderstand me as being somebody who hates unions and thinks that they're bad. It's a complicated thing, I guess, is what I'm saying. That's fine. I mean, if she's qualified and she would be effective in that role, then great. Thoughts on House of Cards? I loved it. Didn't love it as much after Kevin Spacey left. I think it went downhill a lot the last couple of seasons, even the last season he was on. But the first couple of seasons especially were fantastic. I think you already answered this, but what do you think about the things Trump said about the neighbors? It's a whole lot of nothing. All the stuff about Canada and Denmark. I mean, not Denmark, Greenland. He said the same stuff about Greenland the first time he was president. It's a whole lot of nothing. Unfortunately, Donald Trump says a lot of stuff. And honestly, that's his worst enemy is his own mouth sometimes. That's just the reality of it. Yeah, I'll definitely do some more history tea time at some point. The first ones that I did I do one or more than one? I think it might have been a couple of them in one series. Did not perform very well on the channel. So that's why I haven't done any more since. I will go back to it and see what happens. But unfortunately, the reality of YouTube is that if you do a video that performs badly, it doesn't just hurt you for that video. It drags everything else down too. Because if one video doesn't, like, here's how it works for those who might not understand how it works. I upload a video and it goes live. Notifications go out to the subscribers who have turned the notifications on. And if you haven't done that, please do it. What that means is the little bell on the screen when you're watching a video, if you click on that and turn on notifications, that means when a video goes live on my channel, you get a notification that I've uploaded a new video. That way you know, instead of having to go to YouTube and click on my channel to see if I've got a new video, it'll tell you that. So the first several hours or so, the notification goes out. And depending on how many of those people click on the video, that helps determine. It's one of the factors along with how much of the video people watch. So let's say that in the first 3 hours, 15% of the people who are subscribed and have notifications turned on click on a video and watch the whole thing. If that happens, the video does fantastic because that's a really good click-through rate, as they call it, and the watch time is really good. And what that tells YouTube is this is an interesting video that more people want to see, because the people who were recommended the video, who are subscribers, thought it was interesting, so they clicked on it. And then the fact that they watched it all the way to the end meant it was a good video that kept their attention. So now, because of that, we're going to start recommending this video to people who aren't subscribers that we think might also find this video interesting. The opposite is also true. If you get a notification for one of my videos and you think, that doesn't look interesting to me, and you don't click on it, or if you click on it and you watch 5 minutes of it, you think it's boring and you turn it off, that tells YouTube this video sucks. We're not going to recommend it to anybody. And in fact, maybe the channel sucks too. So we're going to stop recommending all of his other videos as much to everybody else. So the unfortunate reality is that if I do a reaction to a channel and that video doesn't do well, it hurts my channel. So that makes me hesitant to do more reactions, even if the content's fantastic, which I think History Tea Time with Lindsay is fantastic. And I love, and I wish we had more women creating historic content on YouTube. But in the end of the day, it's also a business. And I have an ex-wife that I give a lot of money to, and I have a new house that I just bought, and I have to run it like a business. And it sucks, but that's the truth. So anyway, that's off my soapbox on all of that stuff. I watched The President's Favorite Movie by Karsten Rundquist, a bit more chill and fun video. Interesting. Okay, I haven't seen that one. I love it when you said I did your mom to Rachel. So if you guys haven't seen it, what is being referred to there is a couple months ago, my kids and I made a video where my daughter and I traded Shakespeare insults from Shakespeare's plays and sonnets and things like that. And then my sons voted on who won each round. And I used the quote from Shakespeare, "Villain, I have done thy mother." That's what they're referring to there. Eastery's Eastern Front video, or the Sino-Japanese War. Did I not do his Eastern Front video yet? I need to do that for sure. Are there any D2 or D3 teams do I feel are talented enough for D1? I mean, there's a big gap between the two. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but that doesn't mean that a team couldn't make the transition. Marshall made the transition. Of course, they weren't D2. They were Division I AA, as we used to call it. But I can't think of any off the top of my head that would do well automatically. There'd be a transition period for sure. City of London has Roman ruins. Yeah. In fact, right. It's not technically the City of London, but right across the street from the Tower of London, which is just outside the City of London, there's the ruins of a Roman wall right there, right on Tower Hill. Have I ever been to the north of England? I have. I love York. Haven't been to Leeds yet. But I have been to York, and I want to get back to York. In fact, we stayed in an Airbnb on the Shambles in York. It was above one of the shops in the Shambles. We looked out our window of our Airbnb, and it was the Shambles. It was fantastic. I love York. In fact, my friends and I, who are all YouTubers, we plan a couple of trips every year together, and we're talking about doing something like in York in Northern England, and like Hadrian's Wall, and doing some Roman history. York, I did a short video that's on the channel from York Minster, where I showed the spot where the monument is to Constantine, who was proclaimed Emperor of Rome in York. A lot of people don't know that. Don't bother with Leeds, come to Sheffield. Let's see. Hey, Chris, I've only been to, I can't have been the only one to notice that Biden LBJ similarities. Longtime senators, served as VP, passed lots of legislation, but dropped out and endorsed VP who lost. Yeah, I mean, I guess there are some similarities there with those things. I hadn't really thought about all of that, but yeah, for sure. Croak Z, which U.S. president would you trust to babysit your kids? There's quite a few. Grant, for sure. Super nice guy. George W. Bush seems like he'd be a kindly uncle type. Let's see, who else? I think Barack Obama would be a fun guy to hang out with for my kids. Play some basketball. My son likes basketball. Thanks for everything you do. Thank you so much for getting me into history. If you need a place to stay in the UK, let me know. Thank you. I appreciate that. If Lincoln were never president, who do I think frees the slaves? Well, first of all, I mean, in the strictest sense, it was Congress who freed the slaves, and that's who would have done it regardless. It is inevitable. It's definitely inevitable. It probably just takes the right circumstances and probably a gifted politician as well. But I think within 20 years, it would have happened regardless, or the process would have been put in place to make it happen. Do I consider Nebraska and the Dakotas a part of the Midwest? I don't personally, but that's because I'm on the far eastern side of the Midwest. I live, gosh, I mean, Ohio's part of the Midwest, but I think people in Nebraska might say that they don't consider Ohio part of the Midwest. So it probably works both ways. But I now live, let me tell you how close I live to Pennsylvania. It's only a couple of miles. It's like pretty crazy how close I live to Pennsylvania. I live 5 miles from Pennsylvania. So anyway, we need to get to I need to show you guys some pictures from my trip. So give me just a second. I'm going to pull these up. We'll keep on doing some Q&A, but I want to talk a little bit about my trip to Italy. If I can remember how to do this. Let's see. Present. Here we go. All right. So yeah, my trip to Italy did start with a trip to London, a brief one. My sister and I stopped there because it was way cheaper to fly to London first and then take a separate flight to Rome. So that's what we did. So I took my sister to Westminster Abbey. She'd never been to the UK before. So this was super cool. Now, it doesn't look like much there, but we went to the Tower of London, and right next to the Tower of London, they had this like live interactive theater experience based on the gunpowder plot in 1605, when there was a Catholic plot to blow up the opening of Parliament, kill the king and his son, kill members of Parliament, kidnap the king's daughter, and place her on the throne as a Catholic monarch. Led by Guy Fawkes and the like. Guy Fawkes wasn't actually the leader, but he's the guy who everybody remembers. And so basically what it is you go in like groups of 10 or 12 people, and there are these actors, and you're actually caught up in the plot, and you're with these actors, and you break out of prison, and you get rowed across the river with Guy Fawkes, who's played by Tom Felton, who was Draco Malfoy in Harry Potter. Tom Felton's not there. That's a VR part where you see Tom Felton, but it was so much fun. And this was the tavern where you got to get a drink during the intermission. And we were all dressed up. It was really a lot of fun. We had a blast with it. I definitely recommend it if you ever get a chance. What is this? This is just awful. Get out of here, my dude. Okay. But anyway, so yeah, that was a lot of fun. This was, we were walking around London a little bit, and it was still decorated for Christmas. So I used my diamond status with Delta to get us upgraded, at least on the trip over in Delta 1, which meant we had those lay flat seats. My sister never got to do anything like that before. So that's my sister in the seat next to me, and enjoying being in Delta 1 for the first time. So it was a lot of fun. This was actually in our, I think that was in London. So these are actually obviously mixed up a little bit because the Delta 1 flight was before we got to London. This was there's our picture from the gunpowder plot. That was really cool. Us getting our pictures taken. She had an old fashioned. I had a cider, I think it was. But yeah, they're all mixed up for some reason. So anyway, this was in a pub not far from the Tower of London called Hung, Drawn, and Quartered, which really irritated me because it's hanged, drawn, and quartered. Hung means something different. But the drinks were still really good. So there's a Trajan's Column, which tells the story of his victory over the Dacians. That was all painted when it was first erected. And Trajan, when he died, he didn't die in Rome, but when he died, he was cremated, and he and his wife's ashes were placed in the bottom of Trajan's Column. They're not there anymore, obviously, but So have I watched or done a reaction to Hamilton? Actually, the very first live stream I ever did on Vlogging Through History was a 2-hour live stream where I broke down every song in the musical Hamilton and gave the history behind it. And you can still find that on the channel if you look for it. Let me catch up on a few questions and I'll show you some more pictures. Does Biden actually have the power to do what he did with the ERA? Absolutely not. And he knows he doesn't. I've been tweeting about this. This is 100% a political thing. The president has no power whatsoever to just declare that an amendment has been ratified. If people don't know the story, the Equal Rights Amendment was passed by both houses of Congress back in the 70s. I think it was the 70s, early 70s. But it was given a time limit for ratification. You have to have 38 states ratify in order for an amendment to become law. In the time limit, it didn't get 38 states. They extended it. They still didn't get it. I think it expired in 1982. In the year 2000, I think it was, Virginia ratified, or maybe it was 2020. I think it was 2020. Virginia ratified and became the 38th state to ratify, but the legislation specified a deadline, so it was null and void. President Biden came out, as did Vice President Harris and some others, came out and posted and said, we've consulted legal experts and we declare that the Equal Rights Amendment is valid. It's been ratified. It is now law. It's a political stunt, 100% meant to saddle the incoming administration with a legal fight over the Equal Rights Amendment. If it wasn't that, then Joe Biden would have done this 4 years ago. If this was really just about affirming equal rights and doing what they think is the right thing, he would have done it when he took office or any time in the last 4 years. The fact that they waited until 3 days before Donald Trump took office to do this is 100% calculated, along with a lot of other things that he's been doing to try and saddle the new administration. Because here's what's going to have to happen now. Now this is going to go to a court, and the court's going to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's going to have to rule on the validity of all of this. And that means that the Trump administration is going to have to focus on that. And that then gives the Democrats the ability to say, look, Donald Trump doesn't support equal rights. That's what all of this is about. And I say that knowing full well that if the roles were reversed, Republicans would try to do the same kinds of things to the Democrats. Because the Democrats don't have any power. They don't have the House. They don't have the Senate. They don't have the courts. They don't have the White House. The only thing they can do is obstruct to try and slow down the other administration. The Republicans have done the same thing when they didn't have power. So that's what this is about, 100%. It's not going anywhere. It means nothing. It's just meant to slow Donald Trump down. Thoughts on prank calling C-SPAN? Do people do that? Is that something people do? I don't know. I guess I never really thought about it. Thoughts on Freemasons? I don't think they're the big scary boogeymen that a lot of people try to make them out to be, but they are interesting. I'll say that. Have I seen Deadwood? Yes. Yes, I love Deadwood. I love Timothy Oliphant. So, yeah, I love Deadwood. I think, yeah, the dialogue it's like Shakespeare, but vulgar in the Old West. It is, yeah, I agree. It's not for everyone, for sure. All right, let's look at some more pictures from the trip. Trevi Fountain at night. I do have some daytime pictures of that, too. Here's the Vatican Museums. Holy cow. I mean, I've been there before. But look how empty this was. This is what was awesome. Actually, this part was closed off. That's why there's no people in it. But Vatican Museum is one of the most incredible collections, especially of like ancient Greek and ancient Roman stuff that you will ever see in your life. It's just remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Yeah, Mr. Terry, I watched the first episode of American Primeval tonight. I know you're probably more familiar with that part of history than I am, but I thought that the portrayal of the Mountain Meadows massacre was like very visceral and very like jarring, even though it wasn't historically accurate, because that battle actually went like for 5 days. The people surrendered and then were massacred as they were being marched away. so they didn't quite show it that way. But Tombstone or Wyatt Earp, which is better? Tombstone's the better movie for entertainment. Wyatt Earp is the better story, I think, in terms of telling more of the story. There's an obligatory picture of the Tower Bridge and the Tower of London. So here we're inside of the Colosseum. That is the seating for the senators. They had special seating, and that's part of their seating there. What else we got? Back in the Vatican museums, this is one of the map rooms where you got these amazing maps along the walls. Yes, Anthony, I'm aware that Oversimplified Second Punic War Part 3 dropped. Where was this? Oh, this is in the cathedral in Florence. There's St. Peter's at the Vatican. These are some of the steps in the Colosseum. So we actually hired a private tour guide for the Colosseum. So it was just me and my sister and our private tour guide. So she took us around the Colosseum. We got to go out on the floor of the Colosseum, which I didn't get to do last time. We went into the Forum, went into one of the palaces as well. So here again, we got some of the Vatican museums. That's one of my sister's meals that we had. I forget where that was. There you go. This is the Forum. That is the site of the Temple of Vesta in the Forum, the Roman Forum. Really cool site. You see just there to the right, that is what was known as, that's the basilica that was the temple of Maxentius, I think it is. Somebody said, who let Jen in here? I don't know what you're talking about because I don't see any comments by somebody named Jen. So I'm not sure what you're talking about, Professor. What? Jennifer, here you go. Yeah. Okay. Angelique, yes, had a great trip. Went well. It was a good bonding time for my sister and I. We had a lot of fun. Which video that I've reacted to that I enjoyed the most? I answered this a little bit ago. It would have to be Lamino's video on Jack the Ripper. I thought was fantastic. What are my thoughts on the GOP that kneel for Israeli lobbyists? So here's the thing. You obviously you're displaying your own bias on the situation by how you've worded the question. So honestly, I'm just not going to answer that. If you want to ask a question where you want an honest answer, I'll be glad to answer it. But if you're going to ask a question in that manner, probably next time I just won't even click on it. I do appreciate the super chat though. Ryan, as a Nittany Lions fan, thank you. I appreciate that. I really wish Penn State had won. I was hoping for an Ohio State Penn State national championship. That would have been fantastic. And I would have been perfectly content with if Ohio State couldn't win the national championship, Penn State would have been my next choice to win it. So I wish they had made it. What's my connection to Rangers? You're in Hamilton. You're a big Celtic fan. Awesome. That's cool. So my family came from Glasgow. My family came from a lot of places, but my most recent immigrants to the United States came from Glasgow. They were English, but they lived in Glasgow for about 20 years before that. My great-great-great-grandfather actually owned a pub in Glasgow on Paisley Road. It's still there. It's called the Old Toll. It's about a mile from Ibrox. And when my family lived in Glasgow, they lived in Govan, which is where Ibrox is. So it just seemed natural for me when I was looking for a team in Scotland to support the team that's in Govan. So that's why I chose Rangers. Also, I'm a monarchist, and it seemed natural. I answered that one already. Tombstone, I think, is the better movie. Since you're from the great state of Ohio, what are your thoughts on VIII? Somebody asked me about that. I don't know yet. I honestly want to wait. I do like young people getting involved in politics. And he's fairly young compared to like our current governor, who's been in politics as long as I've been alive or longer. But let's wait and see. I mean, got a long time until that election, and I'll have more to say about it when we get closer, I think. Okay, more pictures. Where was this one taken? I think this must be in the catacombs of Saint Sebastian. Yeah. So there's a picture there of this was taken at the Vatican. There's Sylvester Stallone right there. At least that's the joke. That's Sylvester Stallone. It's not, obviously. So this is the site of some temples. Sorry, I got to catch up on a couple of messages here. This is the site where Julius Caesar was assassinated. In fact, you can't see the exact site in this picture, but it would be kind of to the bottom left is the general area. I'm actually kind of standing in the spot where Julius Caesar was assassinated to take this picture. Oh yeah, another good shot of the Forum looking east, I guess it would be, from the Palatine Hill, I think it is, looking east. There's a nice view of, is that Rome? Yeah, I think that's Rome. Oh, yeah, this one you can't really read. It's hard to read, but this is super cool, and I had to take a picture of it when we were at the Vatican. There's kind of the outline of some letters that are scratched in to the artwork on the wall here. That was carved in 1527 during the sack of Rome, the one that Sabaton sings about in the song The Last Stand. That was carved by those soldiers that sacked Rome in 1527. My sister is a beautiful lady. Is she single? As far as I know, she's divorced, but if she's dating, I'm not aware of it. So it's possible. She lives in Cleveland. She's in her 40s. What human traits do you think are going to be phased out of the gene pool? I have blue eyes. Blonde hair, probably. I've heard that is one that's going the way of the dodo, but I'm not a scientist, so I'm not really one that can speak to that, but I've read blonde hair maybe. Oh yeah, Senatus Populus o Romanus, Divo Tito Vespasian. This is the Arch of Titus, and that Divo Tito, what that's saying is the god or the divine Titus, because of course he was made, he was deified after his death. How am I supposed to read that without spaces? Genie of Vlogger in the house. He's the one you want to answer. You want to ask the question about, because I see what's the best way to research my family history. He can answer that obviously better than I could. Honestly, go to Genie of Vlogger's channel and watch his videos. He'll help you a lot with that. But honestly, the best thing you can do is start talking to family members first. All of my research before I started going to libraries, this is back when you couldn't do it on the internet, didn't have ancestry.com yet. Before I ever set foot in a library, before I ever opened up a piece of microfilm or looked at a census record, I spent all the time I could talking to the oldest relatives in my family who were in their 80s at that point, getting everything I could from them. And then that became my basis for which to do my research. And over again, I confirmed probably 90% of what they told me. So that's a great place to start. They say if you say ancestry 3 times, Genie of Vlogger appears. Mr. Terry, so true, so true. Okay, let's look at a couple more pictures here. The effigy of, that's Mary Queen of Scots, I think. Yeah, I think that's the effigy of Mary Queen of Scots. Or is that Elizabeth? I think that's Mary Queen of Scots. I can't see the bottom of it, so I can't tell. I'll look at the pictures, and then if I see the other one, I will. Hey, there's me with Gaius Julius Caesar himself. There were other people in this picture. My friend Sander photoshopped them out for me, and then proceeded to do things like my friends started doing things like make the Caesar statue into Woodrow Wilson and stuff like that. I posted a bunch of them on Instagram. Yes, I'm aware. People, seriously, do me a favor. Before you come and tell me that Oversimplified uploaded a new video, and I have hundreds of comments between social media and YouTube and in this chat, check and see if I've already posted something about it. Because I promise you, if you know about it, there's a good chance I know about it too. So I appreciate everyone letting me know. Yeah, this was just asked a minute ago about the Freemasons. I don't think about secret societies a whole lot, I guess. I think they're made into boogeymen a lot more than they need to be. Hope your trip was amazing. It was, Patrick, very much so. Stay from the Arctic cold. Yeah, I'm fleeing the Arctic cold, and I'm going to the slightly less Arctic cold, Washington, D.C. next week. So, yeah, I'll be in Northern Virginia, going down there. So it'll be a lot colder here in Ohio than it will be down there. Yeah, set up in a PC tour. Yes, absolutely. As soon as I get the house settled and it looks a little more like a house, we'll definitely do a tour for sure. All right, a few more pictures for you here. Okay, they're back inside the Vatican. Incredible artwork all over the Vatican. Honestly, the Sistine Chapel to me is one of the least impressive things at the Vatican. These are some cool pictures just walking around Florence and seeing the pictures. A couple of our friends that were visiting us at the Colosseum right there. Let's see what else we got here. Where was that? Oh, that's the church where Sir Walter Raleigh is buried, which is right next to Westminster Abbey in London. This was really good. I forget what it was called now. My sister would tell you. I can't remember what it is, but that was a fantastic drink. It had Baileys and a couple other things in it. So good. There's my sister and I at the Colosseum. Despite how it looks in that image, we're actually the exact same height. I mean, we're literally within like a quarter inch of each other. Oh yeah, there's that's the monument, the big monument to is it Victor Emmanuel, I think. It looks like it fits right in with Rome, but it's actually much newer. So another picture from the site where Julius Caesar was assassinated. If I had been a senator, would I have supported Caesar? Oh, it's impossible to say, but probably. It was not a mimosa, some oaky dude. I'm not sure what it was. All right, there's another picture of the Colosseum and the Arch. Is that the Arch of Constantine? No, that's the Arch of Titus, because that's the one that has the image of them like carrying the menorah through the streets from the temple. Okay. Oops. There we go. Yeah, there's us again on the plane on the way over. That's in London. These are all mixed up for some reason. There's another Colosseum shot right there. I had a lot of espresso martinis in Italy to keep me awake, for sure. Favorite Roman emperor, Trajan for me. But Antoninus Pius is a good one. He's part of those the good emperors, as we call them. I'm working on memorizing all of the emperors. I haven't gotten much past him so far. So far I've got, let's see how far I got. So Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, Nero. Then we have Galba, Otho, Vitellius, Vespasian. Then we go Titus's brother. Oh gosh, Domitian, and then we go into Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and then we have kind of the dual emperors with Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus, and then you have Commodus, and that's as far as I've gotten so far. We did visit the Circus Maximus. Last time I was in Rome in Italy, or in April of last year, I did a video at the Circus Maximus. The hard drive that has all my videos from Italy is packed away somewhere, and I got to find it so I can edit those and get them up. Repping the Buckeyes, absolutely. I don't know. I don't know Empress Mermaid if I think blonde hair will die out. I remember reading that somewhere. I don't know how much truth there is to it. Thoughts on Scientology? Not for me. I was taught if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. So I won't say anything at all. Big fan. I appreciate that. Good batches. Verona is underrated. Haven't seen Verona yet. The amphitheater in Pompeii, which I think is about a 10,000 seat one, so it's like a mini Colosseum, is incredibly intact as well. That one's really cool to see. Do I think Constantine's conversion was genuine? I do. I do genuinely believe that it was. There are a lot of monarchs throughout European history who I think converted for less than genuine reasons, many for political expediency or to save their own skins. But I do think Constantine's was genuine. I got to watch The Lions. Yeah, I'm going to be wrapping up here before too long. I wasn't planning on streaming for a real long time tonight. But yeah. Oh, yeah. So this is a picture of that is Homer. I had to send that picture to my kids because they're really into the Odyssey right now. Let's see. Oh, I'm a little further away from catching up on the chats than I thought I did. Do I have any plans for the U.S. Semi-Quincentennial? Maybe down the road later in the year, but certainly not anything right now because 2026 is already the year my son graduates high school and it's the World Cup. So there's already a lot going on. Who else we got here? Let's see. This was some really good food I had in Italy. I had a lot of chicken in Italy. Yeah, a lot of cool Christmas lights. That's London there. I don't know why I took that picture. Not sure what that was about. Oh yeah, there's another carving done by the people who sacked Rome in 1527 at the Vatican. That cat, his name is, I think that's Augustus, and he lives at the Colosseum. It's my sister drinking water from a fountain in Rome. That is us at the Cleveland airport getting ready to leave for our trip to Rome. That's what the weather was like when we left. It was pretty brutal. Love your channel. Wish to travel. Who do I think are the most overrated historical figures? You say Louis XIV. Louis XIV is fair. I do think Richard the Lionheart is a fair one as well. I think there are some who are overrated that I would say are overrated, but that doesn't mean they're not important. John F. Kennedy, Robert E. Lee. I think they're overrated. That doesn't mean I don't think they're significant. I just think they're not as significant or as great as people remember them. Stonewall Jackson's another one. Caden, go Buckeyes. All right. Go Buckeyes. And you know, the coach of the Irish is also a Buckeye. So the reason people bring up the Africans sold other Africans is to blunt one of the justifications for reparations. I understand that. I'm just from the standpoint of slavery's existence, to me, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Because if you were owned by other people, it doesn't much matter how you got there. It's still, the situation is what it is. Okay, let's see. A couple more pictures. We'll start wrapping this up pretty soon. That's one of my favorite pictures I took of the forum. Yeah, some Egyptian content on display at the Vatican. Going to Egypt in about 6 weeks. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for that trip. This is the front of, is that I think that's the Senate building. I think that's the Senate building that was built by Julius Caesar, if I remember right. Have you and Mr. Beat ever gotten in an argument over politics? No. We've come close. Well, I shouldn't say we've come close. There could have been one, but I avoided it. He actually wanted to do, because we had a lot of people request for us to do a video where we debate the Electoral College. And I politely declined, not because I wasn't willing to defend my position on the Electoral College, but because I value my friendship with him more than I value doing that video. And I didn't want there to be the potential for us to get into an argument because we both feel passionately on opposite sides of that issue. I respect him and I like him and he's a friend, and I don't want anything to get in the way of that. So I didn't want to do that. I believe we both could have done that video without it getting personal or without it feeling personal. I just didn't want to take that chance, I guess is what I'm saying. You've read that Tolkien was in World War I. I'm curious to know how much of his experience in the trenches influenced his works. Yeah, absolutely it did. In fact, I've thought about doing a video about that the next time I'm over there, because he was at the Somme. And he was at the Somme while the Battle of Verdun was going on. And the Battle of Verdun, the French, their big saying was "Ils ne passeront pas," which is "they shall not pass," which is very similar to what Gandalf says in Lord of the Rings. But there are a lot of things you can definitely see influenced his work there. It is not. It is not. It definitely is not. Christopher Nolan's working on a movie version of the Odyssey. He is, and we're super excited about that. Sounds like it's gonna be kind of a big budget thing too. So, all right, we're gonna wrap this up in just a minute here. Let's take a look at a few more pictures real quick, and then we'll do that. I say we have an EduTuber boxing match. I would lose so badly. Have you seen my arms? I have very weak chicken arms. Do I think we'll get more preemptive pardons? Yeah, I think we probably will. How much does Ohio State win by? Two great defenses, going to be a low-scoring game. I'm going to say 21-13 final score. My money is on Marcel in a YouTube history boxing match. That's fair, just because of his reach alone. That dude's a Dutch Marine, man. He's hardcore. And he's tall. He's a big guy. Yeah, I would not fare well in that situation. Okay. A couple more pictures here. Another shot of the Colosseum. Mosaic floor in one of the palaces. There's the tomb of Saint John Paul II. That's where he's buried right there, or entombed. These were some really good tiramisu that my sister and I had. I think I ate 3 of the 4 of those. Yeah, that's the dome. Is that the dome at? I think that's probably the dome at the cathedral in Florence. Yeah, pretty sure it is. That is the temple of, is that the Temple of Hadrian? I think it is. Hey, there's the, what's the name of the ship? It's, people keep commenting on it because it's in the Philomena Kunk video. It's on the south side of the Thames in London. I forget the name of the ship off the top of my head. Yeah, the Duomo, exactly. Yeah, Duomo is just the Italian word for cathedral. But yeah, that is, they call it the Duomo there. What's the name of that ship? It's the Hind, the Golden Hind. Is that it? Yeah, it's the Golden Hind, I think. Yeah, there's that's the under the floor part of the Colosseum. So here's a a fun fact for those of you who may have watched Gladiator 2, and you saw that they portrayed the water that they put into the Colosseum in the naval battle. While there were never any sharks, they did do naval battles in the Colosseum, and there's evidence to this day of the system they used to pump the water in. You got to remember, before the Colosseum was built in the 70s AD, there was a palace on that site built by Nero that had a huge lake, like an artificial lake. And so the system was still in place to feed the water to that. And they used that to pump water into the Colosseum. The tour guide we had the first time I was at the Colosseum said they believed they could fill it to 4.5 feet of water in about 20 minutes. But in the 80s, I think it was in the 80s, during Domitian's reign, they put all of this stuff that you see here underneath the floor of the Colosseum, like where they had the elevators to raise animals and gladiators up to the floor. Once they put all of that in, they could no longer flood the Colosseum. So if there were water battles, and we think there were, they had to have been when the Colosseum was first opened. It wouldn't have been 100 plus years later, like portrayed in Gladiator 2. What is that? I can't remember what site that is. That's still in Rome. That's part of the, I think that's part of the palace in Rome on the Palatine Hill. Yeah, it is. There's another view of the Forum. Right down in front there, you see that's the temple to Vesta. That's at the Vatican. That was a picture outside of a restaurant that I just loved. Limoncello Spritz, one of my favorite things. Castel Sant'Angelo, if you know the song The Last Stand, also known as Hadrian's Mausoleum. There's a shot from in front of St. Peter's. That's in Florence. So if you've ever seen the movie Hannibal, which is the sequel to Silence of the Lambs, you know there's a very famous scene that takes place in this building where the police officer gets disemboweled and hanged off of the side there. Yeah, I had to take this picture in the Vatican museums of Jan Sobieski III. This is the Winged Hussars, the Siege of Vienna, 1683. Some pizza that I had in Italy. This is where Dante Alighieri was born. That is inside of the Arch of Titus. These are pictures of his triumph, the triumph that they had for Titus and Vespasian together after the sack of Jerusalem. That's me at St. Paul's. Some more tiramisu. These were really cool. So this is in Siena, which we did a day trip out of Florence. We went to Tuscany. We went to Siena. We went to darn it, what's the name of the town? It's in, it's a town that's in Assassin's Creed. I'll tell you the name of it in just a second. And then we went to Pisa. San Gimignano in Tuscany. And a bunch of the buildings there are ones that, this was really good food here. By the way, if you ever go to Italy and you order a steak medium, that is what medium rare is to us in the United States. They like this thing was still mooing on the inside. Hey, Tower of Pisa. I think that's just about all that I wanted to show you from these shots. Let me just look real quick, see if there's anything else interesting. I don't think there is, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Plan to do any videos on the 100 Years' War? I've done a couple. I think we did the extra history series on the 100 Years' War, but we'll do some more at some point. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right here. Definitely more live streams coming in the near future. Thank you, Hugh, for gifting 5 memberships. I appreciate that. You read a political article that says Tolkien is J.D. Vance's favorite author. I'm not surprised by that at all. I don't think. Me and Mr. B are both the types to not let political disagreement. I agree. I agree with that, and I don't think that would be the case. But I was worried about it enough, maybe even from my own standpoint, because I can get very passionate and I can get worked up. I didn't want that to happen. I felt like getting into that kind of a debate would not have brought out the best in me. And I didn't want that to get in the way with my friendship with Matt, because he's somebody that I do have a ton of respect for and I like a lot. I've also met his wife and I like her a lot as well. I didn't want that to happen. So I just politely declined. So, all right. Thank you guys so much. The Oversimplified reaction will premiere at 2:30 on Monday. I may or may not live stream during the inauguration. I'd like to. I'm not going to commit to it fully until I know for sure. But yes, there you go. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.